how's it going? My name's Wayne Memmott, and I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about shedding my Catholic guilt. Now I want to let you know there's a couple of things about my presentation. I'm going to be talking to you all today a little bit about the Catholic Church. I was a big member of my local Catholic Church for a long time, so I kind of know a lot about it. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about my qualifications and where I come from and how I know so much about the Catholic Church. I'm also going to talk to you guys a little bit about how I shed my Catholic identity and how I'm not really a Catholic. And then I had shed my identity, and yet I was still heavily involved in the Catholic Church, and I'm going to talk to you guys about that. And I was kind of a covert agent. So while I'm talking to you all today through my presentation, I want to let you know that I'll be on the YouTube comments, and you can please ask me any questions about the Catholic Church and my experience, and I'll be more than happy to talk more in depth about it. I also want to thank Adam Collins for putting on this this convention, this online convention. I think it's a great idea, and it's awesome for us to get to talk and learn and hear different ideas from each other. I can't wait to hear what the rest of you have to say. So with that out of the way, we'll go ahead and get started. My qualifications. My mom was Catholic. That's usually where it starts. So I grew up in a Catholic household. We said prayers before every meal. We said the same prayer. We said it so often that it lost meaning. We also went to church every single Sunday. Every Sunday I sat in church and hated every single second of it. I wanted to be doing other things, and the message never got across. But growing up Catholic generally imbues a lot of guilt amongst people, and so a lot of people are guilted into doing things, and they're like, wow, I have to be here. It's for the people. It's for the people. So I didn't just go to church. I wasn't just one of those Catholics. I was like involved in my church. It started young. I went to Sunday school. My mom taught Sunday school also. My mom taught Sunday school after my classes had already completed, so I had to stay and volunteer my time making snacks for all the kids that she was teaching. After that, I became involved in the children's choir and then later the adult choir, and I sang beautifully for all of those kids and people watching me at church. I also signed up to read readings at church. So every Sunday they read 3 readings from the Bible, and I would go up in front of everybody and read these readings, and I had to say them slow and add meaning to them because they didn't have a meaning. What else? I also signed up later to give the Eucharist. So at 16 years old, I was given Jesus's body and blood and gave it to people to eat. I was given that responsibility as a 16-year-old. So one of the things I liked about the Catholic Church is it gave me a lot of responsibility and taught me a little bit about responsibility. That could have been just my personal church. So I want to add another layer to this church. One of the big things against the Catholic Church is that they are not friendly to gay people, which I'm hugely against. I love everybody, and I think everybody should be able to love whoever they want and whatever they want and live your own life. I want to get that out of the way. So it's a big problem for me for a lot of my life. And I knew about this at a younger age. But in my personal church, I went to a half black, half white, half rich, half poor, a lot of different circumstances church, kind of in the hood in Cincinnati, Ohio. I remember going to church every Sunday and seeing a gay couple, mixed gay couple with adopted children that would sit in the front of church, and nobody thought differently about it. So that was my seeing it every single day. I'm like, well, how did the Catholic Church hate gay people? Later, I went to another church for a short time, and I saw, oh, those are the Catholics that hate gay people. More qualifications. So I went to a public high school. I did not go to a Catholic high school, but I went to a Catholic university for my undergrad. I majored in Latin and also in political science. I also went to a Catholic university for my graduate degree, and I learned teaching at a Catholic school. Now, I want to add a layer to that and say they were Jesuit schools. If you know anything about the Jesuits, they're a Catholic order of brothers and priests, and they focus on education. So all the Jesuit priests, they do say mass from time to time on special things, but usually they're the teachers. They're the old professors. So I went to a Catholic school that focused on education, not so much on hate. After I went to school, I became a teacher, and I started teaching at a Catholic high school, an all-girls Catholic high school. And I'm not going to say the name of it. I want to keep it all out of it. But I will tell you that at the time that I became teaching, I had already shed my Catholic identity. And one of the big things about being a Catholic school teacher is that you have to have a Catholic identity. So for 3.5 years, I had to fake being a very good Catholic amongst a bunch of very good Catholics. And I never got caught. I could not talk to people about my support of gay marriage or my support of ladies pro-choice. I couldn't talk about that. If a girl came to me and talked to me about an abortion, which never happened, I had to immediately send them to the principal's office. It became a whole ordeal. I could not let my school know that I was living with my girlfriend out of wedlock. That's a problem. I paused for effect. I could not. I had to lie to my school for 3.5 years and tell them that I lived on my own and that my girlfriend lived with her mom. Meanwhile, we lived together and had 2 dogs, and it was great. So that was a huge problem for me. But while I was there, I gathered a lot of intel about the Catholic Church, and I realized that it wasn't the church that I hated, the structure, but Catholicism I didn't hate, because the basic tenets of Catholicism are to treat everybody good, like you would want to be treated. It's basic tenet of human life. And it's also service, which is helping people that need it because it's a good thing. Part of that, treating people well. So the Catholics that I knew were all just good people doing service. They helped get food for poor people. They helped build houses. They didn't have to. They were just the good people. They happened to gather at a church on Sunday. So once I learned to be able to separate the church from the people, I was able to say, oh, I don't like the Catholic Church. I just like those basic tenets, which are what good people are. And I don't want to say that all atheists are good people, but the strong atheists, that's what they hold on to too. Be a good person because it's good to be good. And that's what I like. So when I kind of realized that, I was able to fully shed my Catholic identity. So in order to talk about kind of what's bad about the Catholic Church, you have to talk about what's good. And I've already kind of mentioned it. But I will say the good things that I learned. I was not very popular at school, but I was popular at church. Now, you could argue I could join a lot of different organizations and become popular or liked in those organizations. I didn't feel like I was liked at school. I felt like I was liked in my church. I was given a lot of responsibilities. I was allowed to do things at my church and explore talents and things like that. And at my school, I didn't have those opportunities. I was bad at sports. I was bad at everything, and I just kind of floated along. So personally, I had a lot of good things come out of that. I also learned about service. I went on service trips. I built houses. I spent many a Saturdays cleaning up people's yards and collecting canned goods and all that kind of stuff, and volunteering at homeless shelters and doing all that. And I can honestly say that none of that was for personal gain. It was all because I knew that it was good to be good. I'm one of those people that I'll help anybody out, and I'll put myself out before I'll let someone suffer. And I really attribute that kind of feeling that I got from my Catholic upbringing. Again, I want to say I could have gotten that from other things, but I got it from the Catholic Church. Here's what's bad. All right. We can already say, yeah, the priests that raped boys are bad. That's 0.5%, minuscule percent of the Catholic population. Those guys are terrible. We can also say that the Catholic leaders that are using it to raise money, or the Catholic Church as an organization has all this money, and yet there's still poor people suffering, and yet they say to help the poor, but yet you live in a palace of gold called the Vatican. That's a lot of hypocrisy that's hard to counter, or to reconcile. That's the words. It's hard to reconcile that. One of the worst things about the Catholic Church is this idea of the Catholic guilt. And I know you've heard about it. A lot of Catholics talk about it, but it's this guilting people into doing things, and it's hard for me to talk about how they use it, but I can just tell you about this, that one time when I was younger, I was caught with pornography. Ooh. And I had to go and confess to my priest, who was just this guy. Okay, here's one thing you have to know about priests. They're all just guys. They go to college, they learn about the Bible, and then they go get a job at a priest. It's just there's a certain amount of people applying, and there's a certain amount of jobs, and they generally help set you up. They're just guys. They're not elected. They're not chosen. They're just guys. They get a job. That's another problem about the Catholic Church is that they are all just guys and that women can't be priests. And I don't want to dismiss that, but I was talking about this. So I had to go and confess to my priest that I masturbated. And that was a huge problem for me because at 13, 14, 15 years old, that's what our bodies are programmed to do. We are programmed to want to explore sexually. That's what we're supposed to do. And is it safer for me to masturbate at home or to go out and find other girls that also can't masturbate and to have sex with them? And now we are forced with the decision of, well, we can't have an abortion because the Catholic Church won't let us, so now we have to have this baby. And then you're guilted into having that baby. So the Catholic guilt is a set of the extenuous rules that aren't the tenet of being good and doing service that help try and shape you into being good and doing service, but they end up just guilting you into doing something you don't necessarily want to do. For me, it was to not masturbate. I liked doing it. It was fun. I was a kid. I wanted to have sex. I'm sure I could have found it, but I was also a kid and I knew I couldn't deal with the responsibility of having a sexual relationship at 14 years old. So masturbating it was. And I didn't get anybody pregnant and I didn't get any STDs. And I'd say that's probably a lot better. But I had to say 10 Hail Marys in the Lord's Prayer 15 times because that's how God would forgive me for masturbating. I hope God knew that I was masturbating while saying those prayers. I'm just kidding. I wasn't doing that. So the biggest thing about the Catholic Church is that Catholic guilt. Now, how do you shed that guilt? And here's the kicker. It's tying back to my Jesuit education, my Catholic Jesuit education, which helped me change my thinking because I was challenged at college. Now, you could argue that I may have gotten that education and have been challenged had I not gone to a Jesuit school. There's a pretty good chance that would have happened. And I would have still been able to separate myself from the Catholic Church and still hold on to the good tenets of being a good human being, which is really what's important. But I went to a Catholic school, and it was my teachers in my Catholic religion classes that helped me examine the Bible. And in that examination and learning of the Bible and the tenets of the Catholic Church, I realized that, hey, these are just tenets of being a good person. So how about we just be a good person? And if I don't want to wake my hungover ass up on Sunday at 8 o'clock to go to church, I don't have to feel like shit for the next week. And it's okay because I'm still a good person. And while I might make mistakes that might harm myself, as long as I'm not harming anybody else, that's a pretty good job. And I don't want to live in constant fear of messing up and going to hell. And that's the other big part of the Catholic guilt is that hell thing, because the Catholics do believe in hell and they do believe that you are constantly preventing yourself from going to hell, which is a huge problem. You cannot live your life constantly preventing yourself from something bad happening because you're going to miss all the good things that come about it. The biggest problem that I realized that the Catholic Church has is they have the dictator problem. They have the problem where they have too much power localized with one person, and they have it at multiple levels. So they have the priest, that's the head of the church and the end-all be-all in that church. They also have the bishop and the archbishop, or whatever order, and then they have the cardinals, and then they have the pope. And each of those are localized power where it's one head over them all. So, it's the bishop over, or the archbishop over the priest, and it's the bishop over all the archbishops, and it's the cardinal over the bishops, and it's the pope over the cardinals, or however that hierarchy works. I'm not entirely sure about it. It's the fact that they have localized power. So there's nobody that can say anything, say, hey, maybe you, So when there are one or two or three priests, and there's more that molest a child, nobody can really bring him up because he's the infallible one. The only person that can bring it up are his bosses, who are probably also as infallible because they have nobody to call them out on their bullshit. The only person that can call them out on their bullshit is the Pope, who's so far removed by these levels of power that he doesn't know this priest in Boston that's raping a child. And I'm only saying that because it was the part of the movie Spotlight, which is popular right now. So they have this dictator problem. It's called the Hitler problem. I don't know if it's called that, but I made it up. It's the Hitler problem. Hitler had nobody to tell him no. He had people that were in charge of people that were in charge of people that were in charge of people killing Jews. It's the same thing. So when you have a pope that decides that he wants to wage war on the Middle East in the 1400s to steal all of their treasures, but call it a religious war, that's a problem. That's a major problem because there's nobody to tell him no because he's the infallible one because God talks to him. So I've spoken a lot and I feel like I could ramble on forever, and I'd really like to answer some of your questions. So I'll kind of end you all with this. And the thing is I think that there's something that can be found in all religions that will hinder you from being the best version of yourself. There will be a lot of support in those religions that will help you to be the best version of yourself. If you can find solace in those religions and be the best version of yourself and ignore all of those bad things, more power to you. The problem is most of us can't do that, myself included. So when you align yourself with people that are able to see just those good things and ignore those bad things and umbrella themselves under a different label that doesn't have any of those bad things, that's where atheism is born. It's people that have ignored all of the bad things of all other religions, and some of those religions have way more bad things than others. You know, it's probably hard to find bad things in Buddhism, but I don't know a lot about Buddhism, and there's probably people that like, fuck those Buddhist monks, they're hitting our kids, or what, who knows, whatever they're doing, okay? But what I'm saying is that when you generally find that the atheists are the people that have shed all of those bad things, whether it be the guilt in Catholicism or whatever of your religion, and have just umbrellaed themselves under another label of people that it's good to be good. I think that we would all agree with that, and that's what drives our life. It's good to be good. Be good to people because it's good to be good, and I think that's the best lesson. I will add the ending caveat that I would not say that I'm an expert on atheism at all. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that that's what I identify myself with as more than anything else, because I know that the other things that I have looked at, I can't get on board with. But everything that I've looked up with atheism is that it's good people being good people and exploring and learning and not letting any bullshit rules or regulations hinder us from exploring everything that there is on this earth and really treating this earth as the heaven on earth, for lack of a better term. So be good to people because it's good to be good. And I'll be answering any questions. If you catch this later and you want to ask a question on there, please feel free to. My name is Wayne Memmott. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks to Adam again for the convention and all the people involved. This is really great. Have a great night. Bye.